And then I got
All
the
right.
director side also go.
All right, ISO 7 o'clock. Shall we call the meeting to order?
Yes.
Let's begin.
Arnold,
Here.
Beckwith,
Here.
Farcapisi,
Here.
Flores,
Here.
Kotsinis,
Here.
Hamilton,
Here.
and Sutton, absent. We have a quorum.
All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mission statement: to enrich, empower, and enlighten the people of Warren Newport Public Library District. Public comment. Anyone? All right. Presentation of audited financial statements. If you will find your blue binder, and I will pass it on to Ryan and to our auditors to proceed.
All right, Raj, you want to go ahead and kick us off here?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for getting a chance to meet some of you, and thank you for allowing me to Zoom in today rather than in person. I appreciate that very much. It's very helpful to me, and just wanted to say a special thank you to Ryan and Doug, and also to Andrea for just helping us complete the audit and get everything done and the work papers that we need. And we really were able to complete things done efficiently. We were able to do it well and had no issues with management, obviously, and things went very smoothly for us. We appreciate that. There are two items that you have. One is a letter called Communication with Those That Charge with Governance, and the other one is the audit report. If I could just bring your attention just real briefly to the letter. That letter is a standard letter that we present as part of the audit, and it goes over just some of the accounting practices that we do, any difficulties that we encountered in the audit, which we did not. If you look almost all the way down at the bottom, it says we encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management, performing and completing our audit. So that's once again a thank you to Ryan and to Doug, and then also speaking with Andrea by phone. I appreciate that as well. And it talks about any disagreements that we may or may have had with management, which we did not have any disagreements. It discusses management representations, and if there were any other audit findings or issues or matters at hand, which we would have brought to your attention if there was anything as such. It also goes into some accounting estimates that we do, and the most sensitive of those estimates that you have in your financial statements are the calculation of net pension asset, deferred outflows, and OPEB, et cetera. So that's pretty much what this letter says. With the communication that we, as part of the audit, we are required to present that to you. If I could direct your attention to the report now, and on just the first page, right after the table of contents, it goes right into our opinion. It says at the top, it says independent audits report, and it goes into the opinion. We give our opinion. The second paragraph says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund of the Warren Newport Public Library District as of June 30th, 2024, and the respective changes according to generally accepted in the United States. So basically what we're saying right here in this opinion is that it's a clean report, it's a clean opinion, everything has been presented fairly, and our reasonable assurance that they've been presented fairly. So that's the audit report opinion. As we go through the auditor's report, there's some management discussion and analysis. Those are really comments that you as management and as a library district present. We basically look over those management discussion and analysis, look at the financials, and make sure that they agree to the financial statements. And as we continue on, what I'd like to bring to your attention, just a few brief things. One is on page 9 of the financial statements, which it says at the top, the governmental funds balance sheet. And just want to bring your attention to your cash and cash investments. So right now in the general fund, as of June 30th, 2024. In the cash and cash investments, you have about 6.8 million, just shy of 6.8 million, and a total of all government funds, including special reserves funds, of about 11.1 million. So that's just the cash and cash investments that you have available at that time. There's also deferred property taxes of just a little over 7.1 or almost 7.2 million that you have, and I believe those are collected on June and September, if I remember correctly, throughout the year. And I believe there's a little over 3 million that was collected sometime in June, based on the property taxes receivable. So that's the funds balance, just so that you're aware of the cash at hand and investments at hand at June 30th of 2024. As we go through the pages, page 10 discusses the GASB adjustments. Those are a lot related to capital assets and depreciation and some of the long-term liabilities that you have. Those are the GASB adjustments to get you as per GAAP. And on page 11, I'll bring your attention to that as well. That is your statement of revenue and expenditures. You can see on the far left-hand side, the general fund. You roughly have brought in about 6.5 million in revenue. Compared to that to prior year, that was 6.2. And you had expenditures in June of 30th, 24 of a little over 5 million. In comparison to prior year, you had 4.6 million. That puts an excess of revenues over expenditures. In other words, this is sort of like your profit and loss statement in a for-profit world. Your revenues exceeded expenditures by 1.4 million in the general fund. However, you transferred 1.2 of that out to the special reserve funds and to obviously account for. But there's 1.6 million in the HVAC renovation costs, if I remember correctly, and some of the capital outlay, 1.8 million. Okay. What I do like to always share is that what does that mean from a cash standpoint? As we said, you had about in your general fund about 6.8 million in cash and investments, and you had 5 million in general expenses, and that's roughly about 16 months worth of working capital. So that's sort of important to know. Like if the taxes were delayed for some reason, I believe in Cook County we had that. Was it 2 years ago? There was some delay in receiving the tax revenues. You have working capital of roughly about 16 months just in the general fund. Okay, so that's what page 11 goes into. Page 12 is also the GASB adjustments for the statement of revenue and activities to get you to GAAP in the total funds. I will like to say, going back to page 11, if you look at the general fund excess over revenues after the special reserve funds and the bonds and et cetera, it did bring you to a loss of $895,000. Part of that is we can explain that in the special reserves fund for that HVAC renovation costs. As part of GASB, though, it brings you on page 12. It brings you back positive to $925,000. Okay. As we continue on throughout the report, the next pages go into the notes section and some of the accounting policies that we have. I won't bore you with the details of those, but I would like to bring your attention to page 18, which talks about in notes 2 at the bottom of page 18, it talks about your deposits and investments. I always like to just briefly mention that you had about 5.5 million in the bank balances, and of that, 5.2 was covered by FDIC and 237,000 was collateralized. So in essence, you were fully insured or collateralized on your bank accounts. It's always important to know, and your CD rates are roughly 4.7 to 5.6 as of June 30th. Okay, so those are the deposits. The next page, just to bring your attention, is on page 20. I'd like to just mention the capital assets on note 4. That shows the increases of roughly 1.586 million increases, and once again, that has to do with the HVAC renovation costs that you had done as well. Okay. The next page on page 21 just goes into note 6, long-term liabilities, and a lot of this is showing your bonds that you have amounts due within 1 year, and the carry amounts and so forth, okay? Finally, just on page 30, I do like to just briefly mention, sometimes we see libraries that really ask about the pension liability and assets and the related ratios that go with that. So page 30 really defines that, and you also have a note section, I believe it's note 8 or note 6 that goes into OPEB and so forth. But one thing I do like to mention is that all the way at the left in the 2023 column at the bottom, it shows 87.80%, and that's what we'd like, basically would say that of the pension liabilities that you have, you're about almost 88% funded. In other words, you have the money to meet those demands and that liability, okay? So that's important to know. And then just finally, on page 34 on is your required supplementary information that goes into the detailed expenditures. A lot of the pages at the beginning of the report are more summary information. This goes into the detailed expenditures of current operations of the general funds, and also discusses your budget amounts, your final and original, and then what ended up being the actual, okay? So that's pretty much what the audit report is and our letter is, but most importantly is that you have a clean opinion. The report is a clean report, and we're happy to present that, and just wanted to say thank you again for allowing us to do the audit, present the audit. And at this time, I just want to open up to any questions that you may have.
I believe, this is Andrea, the treasurer. I believe I asked this during our conversation, but were there any areas that you thought we could improve in our internal control? We're always looking to improve.
Sure, and Andrea, thank you for bringing that. I know we did have a discussion on that on the phone. Last year we had another one this year. One thing I would like to say is that we felt internal controls were strong, and that's really great to see that in the library. There's proper sign-offs. We even interviewed employees other than Doug and Ryan as well, just to confirm some of those things. And we saw proper sign-offs and signatures. We saw good segregation of duties. And also, I believe, Andrea, you discussed with Doug and Ryan any internal controls that you guys see and review those on a regular basis. So that's a very strong indication of good, solid internal controls. And we didn't see anything that we felt would be of any concern or any, just not even a concern, a significant or material weakness related to internal controls. We didn't feel that there was anything along those lines. We would have shared that with you in a letter, or we would have brought to management's attention or to Andrea, to your attention as well, whether we felt that there was any issues. And so I'd like to say that we didn't see anything that within reason that we felt of any concern.
But even if it's not something of concern, even if it's a small thing, we're happy to improve where we can. We're always just looking to strengthen our internal controls.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing that. And if we had any even smaller matters, we would have had what we call in our work papers a management idea. We would have brought like a management idea to your, it wouldn't have been addressed in a letter or in a formality, but it would have been probably addressed to Doug or to mention maybe to Ryan or to yourself, Andrea, about maybe some things to improve. And we didn't feel like there was anything of great concern or even smaller matter concern. We felt like the controls were in good position.
Good job, Doug. And Ryan.
Absolutely. I don't know if Doug's around.
Doug's here. Yeah.
Oh, he is. Okay, I see him in the back. Oh, very good.
He wants to make sure it goes well.
Yes.
This is his big report card for the year, so.
Absolutely. In about 30 plus pages of report cards here, so.
He's read now. Anybody else have any questions?
It's all good.
Well, we thank you very much, and thank the staff and the board for all the work that we do with budget time. Everything leads up to this, and it's November. We've got one more month, and then we're back to budget time.
That's right.
Joe and I's last budget.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raj.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to step off now. Have a great holiday. Have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
All right, do we still need the Zoom meeting?
We do not. Let's see you would like to.
Yeah, let's go ahead and end that then.
Before we get into the serious stuff, I was looking on where the bookmobiles offered for sale. Have we considered buying the peanut?
Is there a peanut mobile on there?
There's a peanut mobile for sale.
We have not considered it, no. It's on the budget, Andrea.
It's in the marketing section. It's my last play. Let's go.
Peanut mobile, okay.
That would be fun. Do you need a CDL to drive the peanut mobile? Did you look?
I'll go get mine. Volunteer to drive.
All right.
All right. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone
Well,
wishes?
we
Oh,
have
oh,
to-
yeah,
oh,
we've got-
sorry.
And-
I forgot, we have a motion. Do we have a motion to accept the audited financial statements?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right.
George, before you call that, I just
Yes.
want to recognize Doug Weiderberg, because Doug, as the board knows, like, I think when Andrea spoke with Chris McClure, Chris said, well, I'll do the audit, we'll be interested if Doug is there. So Doug does a great job for us, and he is highly appreciated by myself, the staff, and the board, so thank you, Doug.
Not interested if Doug wasn't here. Just
Right.
because they can depend on our books being super clean and tidy
And that is a good
makes less
thing.
work for them. Believe it or not, auditors do not want to find anything wrong.
All right. Let's do a roll call for this one, please.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Arnold, Hamilton,
Aye.
Sutton absent, Farkapisi,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Kotsinis.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
All right, now let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone wishes to remove from the consent agenda for any reason? If not, all in favor, can we get an all in favor for this one? All in favor?
We need
Aye.
a motion.
Oh, we need a motion. Do we have a motion?
Motion that the consent agenda be approved as presented. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. New business, Secretary's report, approval of minutes of the regular meeting, October 15th. Again, we had, who was it that was out for this one?
It's not there.
Okay, that is why we have this on the new business.
Hey, George,
President
we're-
report.
Am I-
You can do
oh,
it.
I'm-
You're
Sorry,
in
I'm
the
running
president's
ahead.
report.
It's okay.
Sorry. Let me actually put my glasses on. Bookmobile update. Go ahead, Ryan.
We're going to back up to your president's report, George.
Yeah.
Oh, please, my president's report.
Item 8.
I thought that, yes, any questions on the president's report? Any other trustees have a report? All right, executive director's report.
In addition to what's in the report, I want to mention a couple of things, and I want to draw your attention to something in the report. So, patron comments, we continue to get comments about new books. We have entered into the leasing program, as I shared with the board, so we should be getting those online very imminently, very soon. So, so hopefully that will alleviate some concerns that patrons have about not having new books when they come to the library. We have a new sorter that it went live on November 1st, thus it's not in this, like, looking back at October. So, so far so good. People really like it. There's a little table so you can set your items on it. It will reject them if you try to put too many in. You can get a receipt if you would like, but you don't have to take a receipt, so that's nice. A lot of patrons like that. And Patron Point Phase 1, we talked a lot about Patron Point, so now you can go onto our website and you can get a library card online, an online card. And what's cool about it is the system verifies that you're a resident. We've tested it, so if you just want to go in, the system will check to see if you have a card, it'll tell you have a card. If you're not a resident, we'll say, I'm sorry, you're not a resident. But if you don't have a card and you're a resident, you'll get an online card and you can access our online resources. So that's super exciting. And the thing I was going to mention was we have standardized the way we collect statistics, because before we had a pretty cumbersome model where different people collected statistics, and now we have one nice spreadsheet. It correlates with the per capita report, so what we have to report to the state. However, it is a big, lengthy report, so what I did in this report is I did pull out the circulation statistics, because I thought maybe the board would want to see that. I can pull out programming and services statistics in the future if you like, but there's also a link to that, so you should be able to access it if you click on the link. So I wanted to get feedback from the board on what you would like to see, because it's there. I understand you might want the physical packet, but it's a long spreadsheet, and we could figure out how to print it in the packet. But I thought before we did that, let me ask the board what you want to see.
I like that it's online and it has the historic data right there. Rather than printing it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely much more useful for staff, and there's more complete data on the report.
Right.
I wouldn't mind in the president's report instead of the report, just a reminder of where to look, so I don't like scan through the report and forget to look at it. So
Okay.
just a reminder of where to find it.
Okay.
It doesn't have to change every month, obviously, it's just a one and done.
Yeah. No, we could do that. And there's a little link there, but it's not clear. We can make it bigger, so it's a little bit more obvious. Other feedback about statistics?
Looks good.
Other questions about anything in the report itself?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. How much, do we know how much we raised at
For-
the
yes.
Library After Dark?
$3,742. Now, and we had actually, so our people counter system, even though they cashed the check, they somehow disconnected it. So we got it turned back on. So when we were estimating, we had 150 people at Library After Dark, 120. And the $37,000 compares to the $6,000 we raised at the previous event, which seems like a failure. Well, you raised $2,300 less, but this second event, much less staff time, much easier to run this event compared to the first one. So if you think about all the staff costs involved with the first one versus this one, I think we actually, made a little more money. And I think the thing with this event, we realized, not unlike when we did Bingo in the Books, we're not going to raise big money in an event like this, but it is good for what they say, friend raising. It's a fun event, so I think by that measure it's a success. But I think in terms of a pure fundraiser, this isn't going to make like what a big gala would make or anything like that. So just as an FYI. So
And the person that you guys, that when the restructuring happened was moved over to more of development, are they a full-time or part-time person?
full time.
Full-time? So, because I don't know if we talked about it, because I know I was asked a lot, what happened to the raffle? So I think people were excited about that, and I was like, yeah, they're trying something new this year.
Yeah.
But
We
I
did
know.
talk about if we bring it back next year, we might have 3 large raffles instead
Yeah.
of a lot of small ones. Because it happened so soon after the reorg.
Yeah.
We kind of thought, let's make this as simple as possible, because we had already booked the musician, basically. So we're like, all right, let's kind of go with it as is, but take away all of the parts that made it tricky, so.
Yeah.
But a couple of other people mentioned that too, so they thought that if we did it, let's do it in a different way, but bring back the raffles.
And then any updates, I know that we worked with the Lake County Digital Equity Coalition, I know they didn't receive, I know the Lake County, or Connect Lake County didn't receive the grants for digital navigators. I don't know if this group, I know they're specifically hiring, but is there anything like for libraries?
Yes, they have, I think this is an informal agreement, but they have committed to sending some of their digital navigators here to do some programs. So I know that Scott Credinger has been talking with, I think it's Kay Crandall?
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that probably is on hold until Lake County gets that staff hired and trained. It was the last I checked with Scott, which
He
is,
heard today, well, he gave me an update today, he's heard nothing. So
Okay.
as far as he knows, nothing has
Yeah.
moved forward with
Yeah.
hiring.
So I can,
I just knew that
Reach
was a potential possibility since.
yeah, no, it's a good.
Connect Lake County.
And they did, and that was very promising, and they indicated, oh, yes, we would like to do this, and, yeah, that's kind of what we've been doing. We've been going through, and I think some of the libraries are taking the same approach to go through Lake County, because, so, just to back up, just if the board doesn't recall this, we had, partnered with, what are they called now? Connect Lake County, which, I did receive an email, so this is an interesting story, because so a lot of libraries partnered with them, thinking that they were in a pretty good position to get this grant money from the county. For reasons that are, depends on who you talk to, they give you different reasons, they did not receive the grant. And since then, Connect Lake County, last time I checked, although it seems like this is kind of a moving target, they said they were gonna go out of business because they didn't have the money to operate, or at least change. So when that happened, Lake County decided, okay, we'll take this grant money and we will hire our own digital navigators and train them to deploy across the community. So when we found that out, thanks in part to Carissa Casbon, who connected me with Kay Crandall, who's a Lake County board member, we had that conversation to have a digital navigator here at WNPL. But my understanding is they're in the process of hiring that staff. So that's the latest that I know. But I'm glad you mentioned it. I will reach out to Kay and see if there's an update. So, thank you for that.
Question about the EBSCO database package. So these are in addition to the databases that were made available
Yes,
previously?
so until recently, Illinois was one of 2 states that didn't have statewide databases, was Illinois and Colorado. So one of the things that ILA, or a lot of us in Illinois, including ILA PPC committee, we were advocating for statewide databases, and statewide databases were funded, I think it goes back to last year. And so they had to go process to select the databases and add them. So now, I want to say they launch, because it's people, we're getting training on them, it's a little bit sticky, and they don't want us to announce the status. So it's in progress. But yes, so that's
So they're not available yet?
They're not available yet, but I think they will be very soon.
I think they are available, but they don't want us to advertise them quite yet because they're still working through the process.
Is that what it is? Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
But if you click on the links, it will take you.
That will
where
work,
you need to be.
okay, yeah. So I think they're waiting for like a big, maybe it's a soft launch now, and they're gonna do like a grand announcement, so all the libraries across Illinois will be like, hey, we've got these statewide databases, so.
Yeah. Will these be authenticated with Open Athens or separately?
I think they authenticate based on IP address.
Oh.
I believe that's how it works, but I'm not sure about
But
that.
because we have Open Athens and we have EBSCO, all of the EBSCO ones will be authenticated that way.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, good question. But that's exciting that we now have statewide databases, so. And that's accessible to anyone in Illinois, even if they're not served by a library, because there are 1 million people in Illinois unserved by libraries, so they will be able to access those as well.
There are 1 million people in Illinois not served by a library?
Correct?
That's fascinating.
Oh, God, where's that report that we have here that like breaks it down if like it would fill football fields or like movies,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Is that over there? Yeah.
It should be, right?
Yeah,
I know we
Okay.
showed it around a couple months ago.
yeah.
Remember.
Yeah. Other questions?
The last question, it wasn't on here, but I know I saw it on the, what do you guys call it this time around? The newsletter. No,
Oh.
the newsletter that
Inside
comes to.
Angle.
Oh, Inside Angle.
Inside Angle.
Yeah.
No, but it was really cute, the picture.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It is cute.
So I saw that there's events that you guys are already planning for Black History Month.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if the committee was coming back together or how that engagement was going to happen.
Oh, the Community Engagement Task Force.
Mhm.
You know,
Just to ensure, because I know with the Hispanic
Right.
Heritage Month,
Mhm.
we had lower attendance.
way lower attendance, yeah. We are still in the process of talking about that. I don't know where that is at this time, but I can report back to the board on that. Because it definitely was, telling at this Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. So the previous events we had done, we had partnered closely with the school districts, other organizations, and it was really through our joint marketing and through word of mouth of these partner organizations that we had a high attendance. This year, due to being in transition and to try something a little different, we did not partner as closely with the partner organizations, and I think that impacted the turnout for that Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. So we definitely talked about that after the meeting and realized the need to partner more closely. So that is something that we're looking at. Other questions?
All right. Website update. No, sorry. Bookmobile update, old business.
Well, in addition to our bookmobile listed, apparently there's a peanut mobile I found out this evening. But I don't have any update. All kidding aside, it's we are still waiting. But in the meantime, we will continue to run it as need be to keep it fresh and ready to go for the next user, and we can store it in the garage in the winter. So, because I suspect, not that the consultant told us this, but I think as we get into like the holidays, you're probably not going to find a lot of buyers next couple of months, but maybe after that it'll lead up. So,
Budget years.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the website update.
Yeah, so we went with Weblinks, and we're excited about that because, as I reported back to the board, we were leaning towards this other company, Cyber Optics, because we liked what we had to offer, but our big concern was with the accessibility. And we looked at their websites, and they, some of that, maybe they were accessible when they launched, but the library didn't keep up with it. But we just didn't feel great about their commitment to accessibility. So when we met with Weblinks, we felt much better. Their websites passed their test. They will fully custom build this website for us, and then they were very communicative with us during this whole process, and then we were able to negotiate it so it fits our budget, because we had 20,000, and we were able to get it down to 18,000 total for the project. So so even though in the strategic marketing plan you're going to look at later, it talks about the website being launched later in 2025, we think it's going to be launched by June of 2025. So. That's our hope anyway. Any questions about that process, or?
So, obviously want to know more about the website, but you say a custom template. What about maintenance for that custom template is my only concern. Is there maintenance that's included in this contract?
There is, we'll host with them, and there's some routine maintenance of plugins and that kind of thing. So they do handle that. But it is WordPress based, so we have the expertise to do the WordPress end. I don't think we're concerned about that. So.
Okay.
We'll certainly ask about it during the process.
The next version of WordPress comes out, or PHP needs to be updated. If it's a custom template, how are we budgeting to make sure that that custom template is properly tested, that
That's a good
works with
question.
the current version of?
Well,
They'll give us a la carte major updates, but the platform, I think, is included in our annual maintenance.
yeah.
So, we can find out more if there's, something beyond what we're expecting.
Yeah.
But we did ask that at that
Okay.
one, before we had signed the contract, about what that looks like on an annual basis. How much is the annual? I don't know, I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. We can get that back to you.
Yeah.
Just wondering in relation to 18,000.
All right.
And they are very local too.
Excellent. Strategic marketing plan. Are we strategic and are we planning?
Well, it was, the board looked at this before, the board wanted to see some more, I think this was a 2-page plan, the board wanted to see more details, so this went back to the marketing committee, and this is where we're at right now. So, like I said, on page 72, we'll want to revise the timeline for the website redesign.
Anything else on this topic?
Yeah, I would be interested, and I don't know if we have the numbers. Obviously, we talked about the Spanish-speaking community, but seeing from those that self-identify as Hispanic or Latino, if they're Spanish speakers, because I think we also have like my parents' generation, mine, and then like, my cousin's kids' generation, because I don't have kids. And knowing like, I think it's great to have programs in Spanish, but then are there also certain needs maybe for those that maybe Spanish isn't their language? And like, I think having like the cafe is a great example of something that's more like that, or if there's other things, right? Like, so I don't know, I would just be interested in knowing what those numbers are, because I don't know what it is for our district. And, right, like either splitting the needs or knowing there's more need for Spanish programming and maybe the English speakers are fine with what we currently offer, right? But I would just be curious if there was a way to like ask or look for that.
Right. And I don't know if that's something that Patron Point can help us with, because they do a lot of segmentation.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a good point, because, we, not only is the, Hispanic community, I mean, it in itself is diverse. I think sometimes people make a mistake of thinking like, oh, it's like the, same group of people, same needs. Clearly, that's not the case. In different communities that we serve, Hispanics in Park City may have very different needs than, say, Hispanics in Gurnee, right? I mean, I'm stating the obvious here. So I think that's a good observation to find out more detail about the groups that we're serving and what their needs are. That's a good observation. And I think that's a challenge. And yes, hopefully Patron Point can help, and any insight that anyone has is appreciated, because I think
Are you saying more like generational, like in language? So maybe
Yeah.
like if you're removed, then maybe your primary language, even though you're Hispanic, is English.
Yeah, or maybe you prefer English over
Yeah,
Spanish,
okay.
right? Or maybe you don't, right? Like,
Gotcha.
my cousins would they default to speaking in English when we're in our holiday gatherings, and I default to Spanish,
don't know
right?
if-
So,
That's like a very unique or specific or targeted question. I don't know if that would be in like, I guess I don't know if they're collecting a Patron Point, but.
Well, the segmentation that I know some of these like things can provide is how long somebody has been here. So it's not gonna be a preference type thing, but it's maybe, like, are you third generation versus first generation, and what the needs associated with that at a very large, scale
Yeah.
look like nationally.
and then compiling that, right,
versus-
with income, stuff,
Yeah.
how long, their studies, right? Because that was, this number, I was like, that half, I was like, I didn't even know, I guess I don't realize how wealthy our district is, because I thought our annual income was way lower than that.
Just
Yeah.
anecdotally, because, we don't have that number, but we have been offering bilingual programs for quite a long time. But we were seeing that these were not native Spanish speakers who were coming to any of the bilingual programs. So I think making a point of saying over these next 2 years, we really want to focus on programs for native speakers. So maybe not not bilingual, but really geared towards that native Spanish speaker. And as we have staff that mirror the community a little bit more, we're seeing those numbers just rise dramatically.
Yeah, because I know I sometimes email Ryan specifically asking like, will this program be bilingual or not? Because it's sometimes hard to know
Yeah.
that question or like if it's virtual, like to speak up and be like, oh, like how do I find the
Right.
translation? Or now Zoom, I know I was doing some candidate forums for work, and you can do the automatic translation in Spanish. It's not perfect,
But-
but then you can also pick other languages too, so it just opens up the possibilities
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask the big question, because all this still says draft. How long until we can remove the word draft from this plan?
That's, I think, up to the board, and I think that's up to the marketing committee.
I think the marketing committee is fine with this. I think it was that we originally had the shorter document, and then the board wanted to see more. So if this is sufficient, I think after we adjust the timeline for the website, it looks pretty complete.
And then we look at it every quarter?
So this initial one, because we haven't had one, and we have so many things, that are initiatives right now, and we just went through this major reorg, we didn't think it was appropriate to do more than, the timeline that's indicated up through the end of 2025.
Okay.
So maybe that's a question that the board wants to give us an answer to, like what time frame do you want a plan like this to focus on after 2025?
Well, maybe more immediate, before March and September, we should have a check-in of, are we meeting the dates we put in the draft or the document? So is it
Like
like
the
a
website and some of these things, there are very many, so
Okay.
we could do that quarterly, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and the other reason I'm speaking is because I'm on the marketing committee.
Yeah, that's, I should have mentioned that, yeah. So it's Rebecca, Karen, Kilpatrick, Jessica Keister, and then Kathy Soakley, I think, yeah. I had started off on the marketing committee, but then with Karen reporting, our head of marketing, to Rebecca, I thought this doesn't make any sense. And one of the reasons we did the, reorg is that, certain members of staff didn't have to be on all these groups and committees, so thus I am not part of it.
How will we, if we don't have specific dates, how will we know we're meeting the objective? Will we just measure it twice a year?
So some of these we're gonna see in our numbers, whether it's programming number, how many people are opening our, messages that we're sending out via email. So that will be reflected in our statistics.
It's definitely easier for the online user experience and digital access. I think it's definitely harder for the other strategic initiatives. That's where.
How often will we see those stats?
So the statistics are updated on a continual basis, so on that link. So maybe if we're looking at these things on the quarterly basis, that could be a printout potentially, that we would highlight those statistics that really show these benchmarks.
To Catherine's point, do we need to put the benchmarks numerically in here, quantitatively? And we've got increased library program participation, 10%, 5%.
Because we're so close to the reorg, that we originally had them, and then we took them away. Because there's a lot of things in flux right now. That whole department is really focused on increasing, programming for adults and all of these things. So those numbers are gonna go up dramatically. And, maybe some of these others are gonna be a little stagnant. It doesn't mean that they're not doing anything, but we have a very robust, programming initiative for children and have for a long time. So at the end of this plan, at 2025, I think we would be in a much better place to put all of those dates and deadlines in.
Well, then maybe you could add that, end 2025 with, that's our new baseline,
Mhm.
and then we'll measure success beyond that.
Going forward.
2025 is the baseline year.
Mhm. That makes sense.
That does make sense. And I think that's one of our challenges, is that we have not always done the best job of, well, this is our benchmark, and then but this is where we want to go. And one of the reasons we redid the statistics for all kinds of reasons, but part of that was to kind of standardize and look at certain statistics as an organization, because I think before we were all, different departments were looking at their own statistics, and it wasn't cohesive. It wasn't this cohesive approach. One of the reasons for the reorg, so we could have this WNPL approach, not a department approach.
This seems obvious, but every year Gina fills out that big comprehensive report with the statistics in it.
IPLAR, yeah.
IPLAR, and this will give her numbers for that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Easily. This time, they're gonna be
So you don't wanna throw the
Perfect.
baby out with the
Yeah,
bathwater.
and before, speaking of everything in silos, you'd have to go to like each department for different things, like I need this from you, I need this from you, I need this from you, so that's this eliminates all that.
What you gonna do with all your extra time, Judy?
Oh, you don't know. I so
She's got a lot going.
Yeah.
But really, we use FLR as the basis for the statistics sheets, so it's gonna be much, much better.
Yes, much better.
And do we have, I guess, for some of these like targeted audiences and new partners, like presumably, I mean, we don't have any more new schools, right?
Right.
Like, so I think some of this, I think that data would be helpful in comparison of like where we end up, right? Just to see, maybe that's also helpful to see what that growth was, right? And not put specific numbers of how many new local businesses, but
Right.
where we're starting off now versus where we end in December of 2025.
So we had also talked about, I'm not in that particular committee, but Ryan, you might have more information about the rubric for evaluating partners.
Yeah. I have a little bit of information on it because we're still establishing it, but so one of the things that we realized, going back to when we hired, this is what, 2 or 3 years ago, when we hired Maria Nava as our community engagement manager, we had this big push to like, let's enhance our partnerships. Let's go out and partner with as many people as we can and get out there more and do more programming. And while that approach, there were some successes with that, one of the things we realized is that we need to have a criteria for evaluating partnerships and making sure that our missions align, that partners are putting in as much as we are, those kinds of things. So and it doesn't mean that we won't work with a for-profit business if they can offer a great program for a community, but we view that relationship different than, say, the school district as an example. So that's part of this too, is use that rubric for these partnerships, because that was one of the things that was a challenge. Even though we've made a lot of strides, even though we have these MOUs with partners, still, our staff need a tool to help us with that relationship. So it's benefiting, the good partnership. We want it to benefit our community. We want it to benefit our patrons as much as the organization that wants to partner with us, right? So.
All right, any other questions on the strategic marketing plan? Let's move on to new business. Secretary's report, approval of minutes, page 75. Again, this is because we had Andrea absent, so can we get a motion for this
I move
one?
that the board approve the minutes of the regular meeting October 15, 2024 as presented. Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Abstain.
Flores, Sutton absent, Arnold, Kotsinis,
Aye.
ayes have it.
All right. Moving on to the reports of the standing committees and committee of the whole. Page 80. Again, we had, I believe it was, okay, excellent. Can we get a motion for this one?
I move that the board approve the reports of the committee of the whole November 12th, 2024 as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Flores,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Abstain.
Sutton absent, Arnold,
Aye.
Kotsinis,
Aye.
ayes have it.
All right. Ordinance, page 85. This is the big one.
This is the big one.
I move that we approve ordinance 2024/2025-5 as presented.
I second that.
All right, roll call for this one, please.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Arnold,
Aye.
Sutton absent, Kotsinis,
Aye.
ayes have it.
All right. Item D, transfer funds from corporate fund to the bond fund.
This allows us to pay for our debt, which, as a reminder, FY 2930, we're getting there.
Yes. I mean, with this next budget, it's after this next budget, we've only got 5 more.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll be here every budget time, making sure nobody borrows.
All right, do we have a motion for this one?
I move the board approve the transfer of $651,125 from corporate fund to the bond fund as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call for this one, please.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Arnold,
Aye.
Sutton absent, Kotzinis,
Aye.
ayes have it.
All right. Year-end bonuses for staff.
So this is in the budget, and so this year, you might recall the conversation, Doug Weiderberg pointed out, this bonus hasn't gone up since I've been here. It's been $50 since I started over 10 years ago. So due to, cost of living increases, we budgeted $75 per staff member, which the board approved. So this is really a ceremonial action to express
It's a
your
token.
appreciation to staff.
I do remind board members that they get 75, the payroll tax.
Yes.
They're actually getting more, the payroll taxes are paid by us.
That's right, that's right.
Do we have a motion for this one?
I move that the board celebrate WNPL's wonderful library staff for their service to our community and that we acknowledge their excellent work with the staff bonus included in the current budget prior to December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Beckwith,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Flores,
Aye.
Arnold,
Aye.
Sutton absent, Kotzinis,
Aye.
ayes have it. Thank you very much.
All right. Other potentially actionable items for the December meeting? Anything not on here? All right. You have nothing else here. The next item on the agenda is an executive session. We've been filling out our surveys dutifully, and we're ready to discuss them internally. So if we can get a motion, I guess.
Before we enter, before you do the motion, after this executive session, I'm gonna leave. So we need to sign the ordinance, the minutes. Could you sign it for me right now?
Yes.
Before we do this? Thank you. Thank you. George. You have your own one, but.
Yeah, take your hand.
George, let's adjourn this meeting,
Yeah.
so if anybody wants to go to the bathroom or.
Good.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, do we adjourn or do
Oh,
we?
recess. I
Yes,
move to
we-
recess to, now I gotta go read it. Where is that? Hold on.
You can make a motion, say like a 5-minute recess before you enter or something like that.
Oh, I move for a 5-minute recess prior to entering executive session to discuss individual employees.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Abstained?
didn't hear your motion, sorry about
Because
that.
Andrea made it in Celeste
Okay.
to enter into a 5-minute recess prior to going into executive session.
No, I just said recess, I didn't say 5 minutes, whenever we come back.
Okay.
Could be less than 5, Lenny?
Yes, I can.
Ostrich leather?
And this is for
Okay.
Celeste, sorry. Okay, so now.
I hope there's a full box of them in the office, Ryan.
Press the button.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Back in.
We are back in session at 8:42 PM. Reconvened, moving to public forum. There is no public presence, so there's no public to speak. Announcements. All listed, communications to the public there, upcoming calendar, libraries closed for staff development this Thursday and for Thanksgiving next Thursday. Committee of the whole will be December 3rd. For those attending, the library legislative breakfast is Wednesday the 4th. And that's in Northbrook.
The last call for that, if anyone else wants to sign up, we've got two trustees.
Appointment to the doctor.
Okay.
All right. Anything else that anyone wants to say before we adjourn? If not, can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Celeste seconded. All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:43 p.m.